The Exile's Legacy. The void of space was cold and silent as eternity's edge emerged from hyperspace. The massive ship, a marvel of human engineering, was both a relic and a testament to humanity's determination. It carried 5,000 souls, each one descended from those who had fled Earth 3 millennia ago. For generations, humanity had wandered the stars, surviving on scattered colonies and drifting stations. But now, for the first time in 3,000 years, humanity was returning to its birthplace. Captain Aria Thorne stood on the bridge, her sharp gaze fixed on the shimmering blue-green sphere displayed on the main screen. Earth. It looked peaceful, almost serene, but she knew better. The planet they had once called home was no longer theirs. It had been abandoned after the Great War, a war humanity had lost to a coalition of alien species united by fear of human ambition. Status report. Aria commanded, her voice calm but firm. Orbit achieved, Captain, said Lieutenant Elias, the navigator. We're holding steady at 30,000 kilometers above the surface. The ship's sensors hummed, scanning the planet below. The data coming back was both familiar and alien. Earth's atmosphere was intact, its oceans still vast and deep. But there were anomalies, strange energy readings and biosignatures that didn't match anything human. Strange, murmured Dr. Maeve Carver, the ship's lead scientist, as she studied her console. The planet's ecosystems have changed dramatically. These energy readings, they're artificial, but not human. Aria frowned. Alien occupation. Maeve shook her head. I don't think so. It's almost as if Earth has adapted to our absence. Something is alive down there, but it's not what we expect. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had grown up hearing stories about Earth, stories of lush forests, towering cities, and endless skies. But the Earth they had returned to was a shadow of its former self, a place shrouded in mystery and danger. Captain, interrupted Communications Officer Lennox, his voice tight with tension. We're picking up a signal. It's weak, but unmistakably human. Human. Aria's heart skipped a beat. That was impossible. No humans had been left behind when Earth was evacuated. The fleet had ensured that every living soul was taken. Put it through. A crackling sound filled the bridge, followed by a faint voice. It was distorted, ancient, and full of static. But one word came through clearly, sending chills down everyone's spine. Help. The word hung in the air like a ghost. It wasn't just a plea. It was a haunting reminder of what humanity had left behind. Source. Aria demanded, her voice sharper now. Lennox hesitated. It's coming from the surface, somewhere near the ruins of New York City. New York City, once a beacon of human civilization, now likely a crumbled ruin swallowed by time and nature. Aria's mind raced. A human signal meant two things. Either someone had survived the exodus, or someone, or something, was trying to lure them into a trap. We can't ignore this, said Commander Work, her second in command. If there are survivors. Survivors after 3,000 years. Maeve interrupted, her tone skeptical. It's more likely an automated beacon. Either way, we need to investigate, Aria decided. Prepare a landing team. I want answers. As the crew scrambled to prepare, the tension on the bridge was palpable. Everyone knew the risks. Earth wasn't just a lost home. It was a battlefield. The scars of the Great War were still there, buried beneath the surface, and the planet's mysteries could easily become their undoing. The landing craft, Spearhead, descended through the atmosphere, its hull glowing red-hot as it pierced the dense clouds. The view outside was surreal. What had once been cities were now overgrown jungles. Skyscrapers stood like skeletons, draped in vines and moss. Rivers cut through the ruins, their waters glowing faintly with an unnatural hue. Scans are picking up movement, said Elias, who had joined the team on the ground. Something big. Stay sharp, Aria ordered, gripping her rifle tightly. The air was thick, humid, and buzzing with the sounds of unfamiliar wildlife. Every shadow seemed to shift, every sound a potential threat. As they approached the source of the signal, the ruins of a building came into view. It was half collapsed, its walls covered in strange luminescent moss. Inside, they found the remnants of old technology, rusted consoles, shattered monitors, and a flickering holographic projector. Maeve stepped forward, brushing away debris. This is pre-Exodus tech, early 22nd century. The projector crackled to life, and a hologram appeared. It was a man, dressed in the uniform of Earth's old defense forces. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow. "This is Commander Adrian Voss," the hologram began, his voice trembling. "If you're seeing this, humanity has returned. And if humanity has returned, then so have they." The message ended abruptly, leaving the team in stunned silence. "They?" Rourke echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Who's they?" Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. A low, rumbling sound echoed through the ruins, growing louder by the second. From the shadows emerged a massive, insect-like creature, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "Fall back," Arya shouted, raising her weapon. As the team retreated, firing at the creature, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they had awakened something far worse than they could imagine. Earth wasn't just waiting for humanity's return, it was ready for it. And whatever secrets the planet held, they weren't going to be uncovered easily. The shattered homeworld. The landing team stood in stunned silence as the ruins of Earth came alive around them. The massive insect-like creature had been a warning. This wasn't the Earth their ancestors had left behind. It was something far stranger, a hybrid of nature and something alien. As the creature disappeared into the dense fog, Captain Arya Thorne motioned for her team to keep moving. The faint signal that had lured them here was still active, its pull irresistible. They needed answers, no matter the danger. The ruins of New York City were unrecognizable. Skyscrapers that once scraped the heavens now leaned at impossible angles, their frames wrapped in glowing vines that pulsed faintly, as if alive. Streams of neon green water flowed through the streets, shimmering with an eerie light. The air was thick with a damp mist, and strange cries echoed in the distance. "Scans are picking up anomalous life forms everywhere," Elias said, his voice hushed. "This ecosystem, it's evolved into something completely new." Dr. Maeve Carver ran her handheld scanner over a nearby vine. The plant shivered at her touch, retracting slightly. "These aren't just plants," she murmured, her voice filled with both awe and unease. "There's something in between. Biological, but with faint traces of machine-like properties." "Machine-like?" Rourke asked, his hand instinctively resting on his sidearm. Maeve nodded. "Nanotechnology, maybe. Whatever it is, it's not natural. Not entirely." "Focus," Arya said, her tone sharp. "We didn't come here to study plants. The signal's getting stronger. Let's move." The team navigated the twisted remnants of an old subway entrance, now caved in and flooded with the glowing green water. The signal led them underground, into a labyrinth of tunnels that had long since been overtaken by the strange new life forms. Bioluminescent fungi covered the walls, their soft light casting shifting shadows that played tricks on the mind. They reached a large chamber where the signal was strongest. At its center stood a strange structure, a large metallic dome covered in the same pulsing vines that coated the ruins above. The dome looked ancient, but it buzzed faintly with energy. "Whatever this is, it's not pre-Exodus tech," Maeve said, scanning the structure. "The materials, they don't match anything we used." "Alien?" Rourke guessed. "Possibly," Maeve replied. "But it's blended. It's almost as if human and alien technology fused together here over time." Arya approached the dome cautiously. Her steps echoed in the chamber as she placed a hand on its cold, metallic surface. Instantly, the vines around the dome retracted, and the structure began to hum louder. A faint blue light appeared in its center, growing brighter. "What did you do?" Rourke asked, his weapon drawn. "I don't know," Arya replied. stepping back. I didn't. Before she could finish, the blue light expanded into a holographic display, showing a three-dimensional map of Earth. The planet's surface was marked with glowing red zones, each one pulsing like a warning. "Those zones," Elias said, pointing to the map. "What are they?" Maeve studied the map closely. "Energy readings, massive concentrations, and they're not natural." The hologram shifted, zooming in on one of the red zones. It was located deep within the Atlantic Ocean. The image showed what appeared to be a massive structure buried beneath the waves. The caption next to it read, "Facility Alpha, Project Genesis." "Genesis," Maeve whispered. "I've seen that name before. It was part of Earth's final defense initiative, a project so classified, most records of it were wiped." "Defense against what?" Rourke asked. "Not what," Maeve said grimly, "but who." Their discussion was cut short by a sudden noise. The ground trembled, and the chamber filled with a low, guttural growl. From the shadows emerged a pack of strange, wolf-like creatures with metallic claws and glowing eyes. Their movements were fast, almost mechanical, as they surrounded the team. "We've got company," Rourke shouted, raising his rifle. "Defensive formation," Arya barked, her voice steady despite the chaos. The creatures lunged, their movements eerily coordinated. The team opened fire, their weapons lighting up the chamber with bursts of energy. The creatures were resilient, their metallic hides deflecting most of the shots. It wasn't until Maeve threw a grenade that emitted a high-pitched EMP pulse that the creatures finally collapsed, their bodies twitching as their mechanical components fried. "What the hell are these things?" Rourke asked, panting. "Cybernetic predators," Maeve replied, examining one of the fallen creatures. "Part animal, part machine. It's as if the entire ecosystem has been weaponized." "Against us?" Elias asked. "Possibly," Maeve said. "But who created them? And why?" As they regrouped, the dome behind them powered down, its holographic display disappearing. Arya's mind raced. Earth wasn't just a home humanity had lost. It was a battlefield, and someone or something had taken control in their absence. "We need to return to the ship," Arya said. "If this is just one of the zones, there's no telling what else is out there. We need more firepower and answers." As the team exited the chamber, the faint signal they had followed shifted. A new message echoed through their comms, faint but unmistakable. "Warning. Return. Not alone." The message repeated, its ominous tone sending chills down their spines. Arya tightened her grip on her weapon, her resolve hardening. Humanity had returned to Earth, but Earth wasn't waiting with open arms. It was ready for war. The forgotten war. The journey back to eternity's edge was tense, the weight of what they had uncovered pressing heavily on the team. As they ascended from the surface of Earth, the vastness of the planet stretched out beneath them, but it felt more like a prison than a home. Arya Thorne sat in her quarters, staring at the stars through the viewport. The blue of Earth below her seemed so familiar, yet it was a world she no longer recognized. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts, and the door slid open. Maeve stepped in, holding a datapad, her face pale and troubled. "Captain," Maeve said, her voice quieter than usual. "I've been going over the records I found in that underground facility. It's worse than we thought." Arya stood, motioning for Maeve to continue. "What do you mean?" Maeve handed over the datapad. Project Genesis wasn't just a defense initiative. It was an experiment, an attempt to merge human and alien technology, and to create something new, something more powerful. The goal was never to defend humanity. It was to ensure its survival, no matter the cost. Arya's brow furrowed as she scanned the screen. The documents were written in code, but the message was clear. Genesis was the result of humanity's desperation. When Earth was abandoned, the project had gone into overdrive. But it was far more than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a tool to manipulate life itself. So, humanity wasn't just preparing for war, Arya muttered. It was planning for a complete rebirth. Maeve nodded. The research was focused on biological augmentation, cybernetic enhancement, and even genetic engineering. And we haven't even scratched the surface. There are more facilities, more zones on Earth, and who knows what's waiting for us. Arya clenched her jaw. This isn't just about survival anymore. This is about something far more dangerous. The Eternity's Edge cruised back into orbit around Earth, but the sense of unease only grew stronger. Arya called for a meeting with the rest of the senior crew. The holographic map of Earth was spread out on the table before them, showing multiple zones marked with the same ominous red glow they had seen on the surface. The signal we picked up from the surface, the message warning us not to return. Work began, leaning forward. What if it wasn't a distress call? What if it was a warning? Arya nodded. Whoever, or whatever, is still here. They're not interested in our help. We need to figure out what Project Genesis truly created, and we need to do it quickly. The longer we stay, the more dangerous this mission becomes. Elias, who had been silently studying the map, spoke up. There's a zone near the ruins of what used to be Washington, D.C. The energy signature is stronger there than anywhere else. If we go there, we might find the heart of Genesis. Agreed, Arya said, determination in her voice. We'll deploy a recon team. Maeve, get those systems up and running. We need to know everything about what we're walking into. Maeve turned to leave but paused. Captain, there's something else I found. A part of Genesis that wasn't listed in the documents. Something hidden away. What do you mean? Arya asked, her curiosity piqued. It's a human-made structure, not part of the alien integration. A facility deep beneath the Earth's surface. But it was sealed off long ago. I think it holds the key to what happened after the war. The part of the war that no one ever talks about. Arya's mind raced. Where is it? Maeve's eyes met hers. It's in the center of the Atlantic Ocean, buried beneath the sea, a place that's been locked away for 3,000 years. Arya took a deep breath. Prepare the team. We're going there next. As the ship descended once again, this time towards the waters of the Atlantic, the tension was unbearable. The sea was still and silent, its depths hiding secrets too old to understand. But Arya knew one thing for sure. Humanity's past had never been truly buried. The team arrived at a small remote island on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, a place that on old maps didn't even exist. Below them, sonar readings showed something massive hidden under the waves, a structure that had once been hidden beneath layers of Earth itself. As they approached, a faint energy pulse began to emanate from the depths. Whatever lay beneath the surface was waking up. Commander, I'm reading something huge, Elias said. It's like a giant machine, buried in the ocean floor. Arya frowned. An ancient weapon. Possibly, Maeve replied, her voice low. But I think it's more than that. Whatever it is, it has the power to shift the balance of everything. If we don't understand it, it might destroy us all. They docked at a platform built on stilts, where the remnants of an old research station could still be seen. It was abandoned, the air heavy with the scent of salt and rust. The door to the research facility opened with a creak, and the team stepped inside. Inside, everything was covered in dust and decay, but the control room still held a strange hum, an unnatural energy that seemed to pulse through the walls. As Maeve approached the central terminal, it flickered to life, displaying images of a past long forgotten. The screen showed a sequence of events, a massive war between alien factions, with humanity in the middle, fighting for survival. But what caught Arya's attention was the final image, a massive spaceship, part human, part alien, blending technologies from both sides. It was marked Project Exodus, and it was clear that humanity's departure from Earth was not the end of their involvement with the galaxy. It was just the beginning. Arya stepped back, her heart racing. So the war never truly ended. Earth was just a battleground. Maeve turned to face her, her eyes wide with realization. And we've only seen the beginning of what humanity set in motion. There's a far bigger plan at play here, one that involves more than just Earth. Aria's mind reeled as she processed the revelation. The war between humanity and the aliens had never truly ended. It had merely moved to the stars. And Earth was just the first stage in the plan. Now, after thousands of years, the remnants of that war had come back to haunt them. And with Project Exodus still active, the galaxy might soon be pulled into another war, one that humanity had already set in motion long ago. And this time, they would be ready. The first strike. The surface of the Atlantic Ocean stretched out before them, calm and unnervingly quiet. As the team exited the old research station, the distant hum of energy beneath the ocean's surface was a constant reminder of the immense power they had just unearthed. Aria's thoughts raced as they boarded the transport ship, making their way back to Eternity's Edge. The discovery of Project Exodus had revealed something horrifying. Humanity's original war against the alien coalition had never truly ended. The Earth, a battleground abandoned after the Great War, was now the key to a greater conflict, one that had been brewing for millennia. The alien factions had used Earth's departure to regroup, and now they were ready to strike again, their sights set on humanity's return. On board Eternity's Edge, the mood was tense. The crew worked tirelessly to process the data they had retrieved from the underwater facility. Maeve pored over the records, her mind struggling to piece together the fragmented information. "I don't understand," Maeve muttered to herself, eyes fixed on the terminal screen. "There's no direct mention of this alien coalition we're up against. It's almost as if humanity knew they'd have to fight on two fronts, one against the aliens and one against their own mistakes." "What do you mean?" Aria asked, stepping up beside her. Maeve looked up, frustration in her eyes. "The war didn't end in the way we thought. Humanity didn't just escape the aliens. They made an alliance of sorts with certain factions. But at the same time, they set up a network to protect Earth. And that's what we've uncovered. It's like they knew something worse was coming." Aria's heart sank. "Worse?" Maeve nodded. "Yes. The records speak of an ancient enemy, one older than the aliens. And the worst part, they're already on their way here." A sudden rumble shook the ship, snapping Aria from her thoughts. She rushed to the observation deck, where Elias was already monitoring the situation. "Captain, we've got incoming," Elias said, his voice tight. "Multiple ships, large ones, and they're fast." Aria stared out into the darkness of space. In the distance, a fleet of alien ships appeared on the radar. They were massive, far larger than anything they had seen before, and they were headed straight for Earth. "Status," Aria demanded. "They're not from any known faction," Elias replied, his fingers flying across the controls. "They're unlike anything we've encountered." Aria's pulse quickened. The fleet wasn't here for peace. They were here to annihilate. She turned to Maeve, who was already scanning the ship's signatures. "They're older," Maeve said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And they're more advanced. We've never seen tech like this." "Then we need to get to the surface," Aria ordered. "We need to make sure that weapon from the Genesis project is ready. It's our only chance." As Eternity's Edge moved into the atmosphere, the crew scrambled to prepare for battle. The fleet was too far away to be stopped by conventional weapons, but the Genesis technology, what Maeve had dubbed the weaponized rebirth system, could give them a fighting chance. The strange biological-mechanical hybrid structures left on Earth were part of a network humanity had set up to defend their planet. But no one had activated them in thousands of years, and Aria wasn't sure what would happen when they did. Would they be able to fight off the alien ships, or would they end up becoming the very weapon that would turn Earth into a battlefield once again? The team landed near the ruins of Washington, D.C., where the largest concentration of Genesis structures had been located. As they approached the overgrown city, Aria's eyes narrowed. The familiar skyline was almost unrecognizable, covered in twisted vines and alien foliage. But beneath it all, she could feel the hum of dormant energy, waiting to be awakened. "Get to the central hub," Arya ordered. "Activate the Genesis systems. We need everything this planet can give us." The central hub of the Genesis system was buried deep beneath the ruins, hidden beneath layers of earth and stone. As they descended into the facility, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something much darker than a simple defense system. The very air around them seemed to crackle with the energy of ancient power, and the walls were covered in strange symbols, both human and alien in origin. Maeve hurried ahead, tapping at a console embedded in the wall. "The system's still operational. I'm activating the mainframe now." Suddenly, the ground shook. A deafening roar reverberated through the walls, and the ceiling above them cracked open, sending debris cascading to the floor. "Move, move, move," Arya shouted. They raced deeper into the facility, but the tremors continued to intensify. The Genesis system was waking up, but it wasn't as simple as activating an old defense grid. Whatever had been built into Earth's foundation was far more complicated, and the ancient weapons were not reacting how they had expected. Outside, the alien fleet continued its approach, but this time, it wasn't just ships in the sky. A massive energy wave erupted from Earth's surface, radiating outward. The alien ships halted in mid-flight, their systems overloaded by the sudden surge of power. The entire fleet paused, as if struggling against an invisible force. "What the hell is happening?" Rourke yelled. "It's the Genesis system," Maeve said, her voice trembling. "It's activating on a planetary scale. It's not just a weapon. It's a signal, a call to arms." Suddenly, the alien ships began to move again. But something was different. They weren't coming in as fast anymore. Instead, they seemed to be retreating, pulling back from Earth's atmosphere. Arya's mind raced. What just happened? "They're afraid," Maeve whispered. "The power of this system, it's like a beacon. It's not just a weapon. It's a challenge, a warning." But before Arya could process what had just happened, the ship's comms came alive with an urgent message. "Captain Thorne, this is the fleet commander. You need to prepare for the next wave. This was only the first strike. They'll be back." Arya turned to her team, the weight of what she had just heard settling over her. The aliens had backed off for now, but their retreat didn't mean victory. It meant that the war was far from over. The Genesis system had revealed its true power, both a weapon and a warning. As the team looked out at Earth, readying themselves for the battles ahead, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's return was not just a mission of vengeance. It was a mission to reclaim the galaxy itself, and that battle was only just beginning. The awakening. The days following the first strike were filled with tension, as eternity's edge remained in orbit around Earth. The retreat of the alien fleet had bought them time, but the brief respite only deepened the uncertainty. The Genesis system, now fully awakened, pulsed with a strange energy beneath the surface of Earth, and the crew couldn't shake the feeling that it was only a matter of time before the aliens returned. Worse still, the weaponized rebirth system was not fully understood. Its true power was still shrouded in mystery. Arya stood on the observation deck, staring down at Earth. The planet glowed, its surface alive with the hum of the Genesis system. She couldn't escape the feeling that humanity had opened Pandora's box. What had once been a beacon of hope was now a ticking time bomb, its potential to destroy or rebuild Earth, and the galaxy, hanging in the balance. "We've activated something far bigger than we ever imagined," Maeve said, walking up beside her. Her voice was weary, as if the weight of the revelation had been too much for her to bear. Arya glanced at her. "You're saying this Genesis system could destroy everything?" "Not exactly," Maeve replied. "It's not just a weapon. It's something far more dangerous, a force meant to re-engineer the entire ecosystem of Earth, reshaping it according to an unknown set of parameters. Humanity didn't just make a defense system. They made an entirely new way of life, one that could be as destructive as it is life-giving. Arya shook her head, trying to process the weight of Maeve's words. And now the aliens know it exists. They'll come back for it. They won't just come for it, Maeve said softly, staring down at Earth with a distant look in her eyes. They'll try to take it from us. They'll try to control it, because if they can unlock the power of Genesis, they can reshape the galaxy in their own image. The comms crackled to life. Captain Thorne, this is Lieutenant Elias. We've detected another fleet on long-range scanners, and they're not alone. We're picking up something. Massive. Massive. Arya repeated. What are we dealing with? I'm not sure, Captain. But these ships, they don't look like anything from the alien coalition. They're bigger, and their energy signatures are unlike anything we've seen. It's almost as if they're not from this galaxy. A chill ran down Arya's spine. Get a visual. Now. On the main bridge, the crew watched as the new fleet entered the outer edges of Earth's atmosphere. These ships were unlike anything the crew had ever encountered. Towering, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with an unsettling energy. They were larger than the previous alien ships, and they moved with terrifying precision, their trajectory aimed straight for Earth. This isn't the same alien faction, Work said, narrowing his eyes at the redouts. These ships are different. Almost. Alive. Who are they? Arya asked, her voice a mixture of fear and resolve. I don't know, Maeve said, her fingers flying over the controls. But I found something. These ships have markings, symbols, and they match something I've seen before. In the Genesis archives. The Genesis archives? Arya asked, confused. What do you mean? Before the war, humanity had knowledge of an ancient race, far older than the current alien coalition. They were considered myth, but there were rumors of their existence. They were known as the Architects. The Architects. Rourke echoed. What, like gods? No, Maeve said firmly. Not gods. But they were powerful, capable of manipulating entire ecosystems, reshaping planets, and they were said to have left behind fragments of their technology. Technology that humanity, in their desperation, tried to replicate. Arya's eyes widened. And now they're back. They're not just back, Maeve whispered. They're here to reclaim what they once lost. The ship's alarms blared. Eternity's edge shuddered as a massive energy wave slammed into it, knocking everyone off balance. The crew scrambled to stabilize the ship as the mysterious Architects' fleet descended, their vessels now surrounding Earth. They've locked onto our position, Elias reported. They're broadcasting a signal, demanding our surrender. Surrender? Arya repeated, her voice cold. Not happening. We need to make contact, Maeve said urgently. There's something we don't understand about these ships. They may be the key to unlocking Genesis, or they may destroy everything we've worked for. Not a chance. Arya snapped, her hand clenched into a fist. We fight. We can't trust them. Maeve hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but we need to know what they want. If we don't learn about them now, we won't be able to stop them when they come down to the surface. Arya exhaled sharply, her mind racing. Prepare a shuttle. We'll meet them head-on. The shuttle Vanguard left Eternity's edge, hurtling toward the enormous alien fleet. Arya, Maeve, and Rourke were aboard, weapons at the ready. The shuttle's sensors scanned the alien ships as they approached, their designs more organic than mechanical, as if grown rather than built. Each ship pulsed with a life force that seemed to radiate an unsettling energy. We're being hailed, Elias's voice came through the comm. Their leader wants to speak with you. Arya turned to Maeve, who nodded reluctantly. This may be our only chance to learn what's truly at stake, but we can't let our guard down. The shuttle docked with one of the alien ships, the air around them thick with tension. The door hissed open, and the crew stepped into the dimly lit chamber. A figure stood waiting. A tall, humanoid being, its features almost ethereal, its eyes glowing with an ancient intelligence. The alien skin shimmered like liquid metal, and its voice echoed through the chamber, both alien and somehow familiar. "You are the descendants of Earth's children," the being said, its tone cold yet commanding. "You are the inheritors of the architect's legacy, and you have awakened the systems we left behind." Aria's hand instinctively gripped her weapon. "Who are you?" "I am the first architect," the being replied. "And you have done what your ancestors could not. You have unlocked the Genesis system. But now, you must choose. Join us in our resurrection of the galaxy, or face extinction." "Resurrection of the galaxy," Rourke echoed. "What are you talking about?" The first architect stepped forward. "We are the architects of life. The Genesis system was not simply a weapon, it was a key to a greater plan. You have been chosen, humanity, but your path forward is not without sacrifice. You must decide. Will you reshape the galaxy with us, or be erased?" Aria's mind spun. The stakes were higher than she could have ever imagined. The architects weren't here just to reclaim Earth. They were here to reshape everything, to rebuild the galaxy according to their vision. Humanity had a choice: join the architects or fight for their own future. And Aria Thorne knew one thing for certain: whatever path they chose, it would be a battle to the very end. The battle for Earth. The silence that followed the architect's ultimatum was suffocating. Aria Thorne's mind raced, calculating the implications of everything they had learned. The architects were not just invaders, they were the originators of the Genesis system, the architects of life itself. And now they had come to claim it all back. Humanity's return to Earth had set off a chain of events that had awakened something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The first architect's glowing eyes fixed on Aria. "We do not seek war, but your resistance is inevitable. You have disturbed the cosmic order by reviving what was lost. Now you must make a choice. Align with us and join in the recreation of the galaxy, or resist and face the consequences." The words echoed in the chamber, and for a moment, it seemed as though the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy hung in the balance. Aria's voice was steady, despite the weight of the decision before her. "You say we've disturbed the order, but humanity was never meant to be subjugated. We fight for our future, for Earth, and for the freedom to shape our own destiny. We won't submit." The architect's expression remained unchanged, but a wave of energy rippled across the room, as if to mark the finality of the decision. "Then prepare for the consequences. You will face not just us, but all the forces that the Genesis system has drawn to this world. Your rebellion will be met with fire, and this planet will be scorched if necessary." As the shuttle made its way back to Eternity's edge, Aria's mind was already working on the next move. The architects had made their threat clear, but the Genesis system had now become the galaxy's most coveted prize. If the architects had their way, Earth would become their new homeworld, remade in their image. But humanity's fight was just beginning. "We can't take them on alone," Rourke said as he glanced at Aria. "The fleet they've brought is unlike anything we faced before. They're ships. They're not just ships. They're living creatures, connected to the Genesis network, probably." Aria nodded grimly. "We can't fight the architects head-on, but we don't have to fight them alone. We need allies, whether they like it or not." Back aboard Eternity's Edge, the crew was already working on a plan. They had the technology from Genesis, and they had just learned that the architects were far more than simple invaders. They were a species that controlled life, not just on Earth, but across the stars. But even with the power of Genesis on their side, the challenge was immense. "We've been scavenging the old Earth networks," Maeve said, her voice urgent. "There are still remnants of the old human resistance movements scattered across the galaxy. If we can contact them, if we can unite the scattered colonies, they'll be just as divided as we are." Aria interrupted, pacing. "But it's our only shot." Rourke stepped in. The last thing we need is for Earth to become the stage for another galactic war. The architects want the Genesis system. We need to protect it long enough to figure out how to stop them. Maeve looked at the map of Earth's surface on the holographic screen. There's one option we haven't considered, she said, tapping on a glowing red zone on the map. There's a fail-safe deep in the heart of the Genesis system. If we can activate it, it may disrupt the architect's control over Genesis itself. Arya turned to face her. What kind of fail-safe? A reset, Maeve replied, her eyes focused on the screen. But it's not a simple switch. To trigger it, we'll need to get into the heart of Genesis, beneath the surface, and we'll need to destroy the central core, the one that's been directing everything since Earth's exodus. And what happens after that? Rourke asked, a skeptical look crossing his face. We kill their control. They'll be back stronger. Exactly, Maeve said, her voice cold. But if we don't disrupt their control now, they'll remake everything. They won't just destroy Earth. They'll reshape it into something we can't even recognize. We can't let them control the Genesis system any longer. Arya's gaze hardened. Prepare the team. We're going to the heart of Genesis. The team descended back to Earth, this time to the ruins of New York City. The atmosphere was tense, and every step they took felt heavier than the last. The Genesis system pulsed beneath them, an invisible force that seemed to grow stronger the closer they got to the core. We're nearing the central hub, Maeve said, her voice trained. Once we breach the perimeter, we won't have much time before the system locks us out. Arya nodded. Then let's make it count. As they approached the massive structure that housed the core, the ground trembled, and the very air seemed to throng with energy. The Genesis system had sensed their presence. The hybrid creatures, once just a nuisance, now moved in larger groups, their eyes glowing as they approached, summoned by the system's power. The creatures were no longer the mindless beasts they had been before. Now, they were a deadly force, coordinated by the Genesis network itself. The battle began almost immediately. Arya's team fought fiercely, weapons blazing, as they advanced toward the heart of Genesis. The creatures were relentless, but the team pressed on, cutting their way through wave after wave of biomechanical monsters. Every strike, every bullet that tore through the creatures' bodies, seemed to fuel the Genesis system's retaliation. We're running out of time, Maeve said breathlessly, as she worked at the control panel near the entrance to the core. I need a few more minutes. Arya looked at the advancing swarm. We don't have that long. Just then, a massive roar echoed through the air. One of the architect's ships had descended to the surface, its massive tendrils reaching out, as if to reclaim the planet. The ship's cannons fired, sending energy blasts that shattered buildings and sent shockwaves rippling through the ground. We're not going to make it, Rourke said, the urgency in his voice clear. They're going to destroy us first. Maeve finished her work. It's done. The core is destabilizing. The fail-safe is activated. The ground shook violently, and the Genesis system's energy began to collapse in on itself. The hybrid creatures faltered, their coordination breaking down. The architect's ship above them began to falter as well, the massive vessel lurching in midair as its systems overloaded. We've done it, Maeve said, voice trembling. The Genesis system is resetting. The swarm of creatures collapsed. The alien vessels above began to retreat, and the pulsing energy that had once filled Earth's atmosphere began to dissipate. But it wasn't over. Not yet. The architects would return, and the war for Earth's future was far from finished. As the team stood in the ruins, battered but victorious, they knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was still watching, and they would have to fight again. Humanity had won this battle, but the war was far from over. Humanity's revenge. The Genesis system's collapse was not as silent as it seemed. As the pulsing energy faded from the surface of Earth, there was a profound sense of both relief and dread that settled over the team. The architect's ships had retreated, their power disrupted, but the remnants of their vast fleet still loomed in the sky, watching, waiting. The battle for Earth might have ended, but the war was far from over. Area Thorne stood on the shattered remnants of what had once been New York City, the skyline now little more than a jagged silhouette against the smoldering sky. The Genesis system had been deactivated, its central core destabilized. But the true cost of humanity's return to Earth was becoming clear. The damage had been done. Earth was no longer the home it had been. It was a battleground. Its surface scarred, and the galaxy had noticed. "We've done it," Maeve said quietly, looking at the wreckage of the core beneath her feet. "Genesis has reset. The architects are no longer in control." "But," Aria turned to face her, "but we know they'll be back." Their retreat wasn't surrender. It was a tactical withdrawal. "They're gathering their forces." Rourke, still covered in dirt and blood from the battle, gave a grim nod. "They won't stop until they've regained what they lost. And if they succeed, they'll remake the galaxy according to their vision. This isn't just about Earth anymore. It's about everything." The gravity of the situation settled over the team like a weight. The architects had spent millennia in control of the Genesis system. The power to reshape planets, to create life, to manipulate the fabric of existence itself. And now humanity had disrupted that power, threatening everything the architects had built. But they wouldn't stop. Not until they had it back. Aria's voice was resolute. "We can't let them rebuild Genesis. If we let them control it again, there's nothing left to stop them." The fleet was already regrouping. Eternity's Edge remained in orbit around Earth, but the fleet was no longer alone. The galaxy had watched humanity's return to Earth with a mix of fear and fascination. The surviving resistance factions, scattered throughout the stars, had now taken notice. They had fought their own wars, and many had lived in the shadows of the alien empires. Now, with the architects on the retreat, they were eager for one thing: an alliance. In the main briefing room aboard Eternity's Edge, Aria gathered her senior officers. The holographic map of the galaxy was laid out before them, dotted with signals, each representing a colony, a faction, or a military stronghold that had survived the Great War. Some were former enemies, others allies in exile. But the truth was clear: if humanity was to survive, they would need every ally they could get. The architects had begun their conquest with Earth, but the galaxy itself was at stake. "We need to unite the factions," Aria said, her voice firm as she looked around the room. "The architects won't stop. They'll regroup and come back with everything they have. We need a coalition, one strong enough to take them down, once and for all." Elias stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "It's not going to be easy. The resistance factions don't trust each other. They'd been fighting wars for decades. They won't just rally behind us without something to unite them." "Then we give them a reason," Aria replied. "Earth is our home, but it's more than that. It's the symbol of humanity's fight for freedom, for survival. If we don't unite, the architects will tear us all apart." The next few days were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, negotiations, and tense discussions with various factions. Some were eager to join the fight against the architects, while others hesitated, reluctant to risk everything in a war that had already cost them so much. But Aria was determined. She had seen what the architects were capable of, and she knew that the galaxy would never be free as long as they had control over Genesis. Maeve, working with the resistance tech experts, began to reverse engineer what was left of the Genesis system's core. It wasn't just about shutting it down. It was about understanding it, finding its vulnerabilities, and figuring out how to destroy it permanently. "Whatever we do," Maeve said one night as she worked, "we need to make sure Genesis can never be rebuilt. If the architects are able to gain control over it again, they'll not only have Earth, they'll have the entire galaxy." A week later, the first wave of Allied ships arrived. The resistance fleets, though scattered and ragtag, began to form a unified front. Some were old enemies of humanity, species that had once been part of the alien coalition. Others were new allies, drawn in by the promise of a fight for freedom. and the chance to reclaim what had been lost. The crew of Eternity's Edge now stood at the helm of a diverse and fragmented armada, each ship marked by a different flag, a different history, but all united by one goal: defeat the architects before they could regroup. Aria stood on the bridge, overlooking the fleet as it assembled. "This is it," she said quietly, to herself more than anyone. "Humanity has returned, but now we need to show the galaxy that we aren't just survivors. We're a force to be reckoned with." The final battle began with the Architects' fleet returning in full force, their ships darkening the sky above Earth as they descended. This time, they had reinforcements, legions of bioengineered soldiers, genetically enhanced to be stronger, faster, and more dangerous than anything humanity had ever faced. But the Architects were not just attacking Earth. They were preparing for a galactic conquest, and Earth was the first step. Aria's voice rang out across the fleet. "This is our home, our last stand. We fight for Earth. We fight for freedom. And we fight for the future of the galaxy." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Allied fleets, led by humanity's Eternity's Edge, clashed with the Architects in a storm of energy and firepower. Massive battleships traded fire, while smaller strike craft darted through the chaos. The sky over Earth crackled with the energy of war, as humanity and its allies fought back against the Architects' relentless assault. As the battle raged, Aria and Maeve coordinated from the bridge of Eternity's Edge, using the knowledge gained from the Genesis core to disable the Architects' ships one by one. Their technology was powerful, but the Coalition fleet had something the Architects lacked: unity and determination. The tide of the battle shifted as the final Architect flagship, a massive living vessel, was brought to its knees. Aria, Rourke, and the team watched as the colossal ship exploded in a fiery ball of light, marking the turning point of the war. The victory was hard-won, but it was a victory nonetheless. The Architects had been defeated, their fleet scattered, their plans thwarted. Earth was no longer a battleground. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a beacon to the galaxy that humanity would not be subjugated again. As the Coalition fleet drifted away from Earth, now freed from the Architects' control, Aria stood alone on the observation deck of Eternity's Edge, gazing out at the stars. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's return, and now they would know the price of underestimating humanity. "We're just getting started," Aria whispered, her voice filled with resolve. "This is only the beginning." Humanity had returned, not to be subjugated, but to take its rightful place among the stars. And with that, the war was won, but the legacy of humanity's fight for freedom would echo across the galaxy for generations to come.